Hello everyone, Mike Rempel from Another Set of Eyes with today's Excel Bytes blog post. A while back I did a blog post called Photos from a Drop-Down List, which has become very popular, and I've gotten a lot of feedback and questions on that. And the two biggest questions I have is, how do you do multiple ones in a workbook? And also, what if I have references in my drop-down list that have spaces, like I want to use names or cities or locations that may have spaces in it? How do I deal with that? So this is an update to that post where I'm going to answer those two questions. So let's take a look. I'm not going to go through the whole process of how this works. I hope you'll take the time to watch the video and learn how to do this. But just to give you a real quick summary, basically I have a drop-down list here, and each one of these is tied to a photo that I have here. Notice I have grapes, glasses, sun, and heart, and each one of these cells is named grapes here, glasses, sun, and heart. So when I choose any one of these, I get that image that pops up. And again, this could be used for catalogs, it could be used for vacation locations, and it could be used for maybe employee pictures in a employee directory. Basically how it works, you know how to set up a data validation drop-down list. What you need to do is, notice if I click on this, it says equals wine photo. So if I go to Formula Name Manager and I go to wine photo, you can see it's equals indirect catalog C2. So basically we're using the indirect formula to point to the drop-down list, and that drop-down list is the name of a cell that has a picture contained in it. Also notice that the picture has to be totally incorporated within the cell. It cannot be over the edge or anything like that. It has to be totally within the cell in order for that to work. So by using this drop-down list and the what I've called wine photo to name that formula as the indirect formula, it's pulling in that photo. So that's how the basic premise works. Again, I hope you'll take a minute to watch the whole video to learn how to do this from beginning to end. So now I have a second file here. That's an update file. And here I have 15 or so different album artwork with the name of the artist. And notice the artist's name is has a space in it. And when I go to my drop-down list here, if I pick the Eagles album cover comes up, or Stephen Chapman, Van Morrison, etc., and they have spaces. But you know, when you name a cell, you cannot use spaces. So for example, if I tried to name cell F2, if I have, oops, let me turn off my caps lock here. If I have Excel Bytes in here, and I go to name it that, I go up to my name box and I type in Excel space Bytes, Excel will give me an error. It won't let me do that. So I would have to type Excel, say underscore bytes, or just eliminate the space altogether, and Excel will allow me to name it that. So how did we accomplish this drop down with spaces there? Well, if we go back to our second sheet and we look at any one of the cells here, notice it doesn't say Bonnie space rate, it says Bonnie underscore rate and Michael underscore Jackson, etc. That's the name of the cell. Also notice that when I click on here, it points to equals album art. And if we go to the Formula tab, Name Manager, and look at album art, it says equals indirect sheet 2, cell A41. So I'm not pointing to this drop-down. Instead, I'm pointing to sheet 2, cell A41, which has a VLOOKUP in it. And here I've created a little list where it's going to look up the name that I pull out of the drop-down list here, and then return to this cell A41 the name that has the underscore, which is the name of the cells above that have the image in them. So when I created that equals album art, again, I'm pointing to the VLOOKUP formula, not to the drop-down data validation list that has the name with the spaces in it. So that's how I'm able to get around using spaces. So how do we add a second one? Let's say I want to show several of these on the same page. Well, it's pretty simple. After you've created your first one, I'm going to go ahead and copy that same data validation list right here. Then the next thing I'm going to do is go over to sheet 2 here and go down and copy my VLOOKUP formula. So now I have 2 of them here. So when I go over to my drop-down list and say the Eagles, for example, now this changes to the underscore Eagles. So by highlighting this, I'm going to go to my name manager, select new, and I'm going to call this album art 2, and I'm going to again put in my indirect function, parentheses, and close parentheses, and say OK. And so now I have album art and album art 2, and I'll say OK there. Now I'm going to take and copy any one of my artwork here, my pictures. I'll say copy, go over to here where I want it located. I'll hit paste. I'll center it in here, maybe enlarge it a little bit. And while I have it selected, I'll go up to my formula bar and type equals album art, and I can select 2. So now whatever I choose here, say for example Van Morrison, or I can choose Natalie Cole, or any one of those, because I'm pointing to album art 2 instead of here I'm pointing to album art, and both of them are looking at 2 different VLOOKUPs here that I'm pulling off of the same VLOOKUP list. I'm able to have 2 different items that I can select from on my main sheet, and I can duplicate this several times with as many different pictures that I want to pull in, and it all works correctly. And there you have it. I hope you like what you see. If you do like what you see here, please take a minute to share this post on your favorite social network. I can be found on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I hope you enjoy this. If you'd like to see more, please feel free to stop by my website, excel-bytes.com, and I hope you subscribe. So have a great day and happy excelling.